Angry guy here, and women are burning out. Women are burning out. I mean, it's a decision that they made, it's a choice that they made. And I don't think there's any going back. If you actually look at what's happening, you're seeing a bunch of videos now popping up where it shows modern women literally crying about the decisions that they've made and saying that they're exhausted. They're finding that online dating apps are now becoming a place of grief and misery because you have all of these options that are presented to them, but they can't even make up their minds, and the relationships on these apps are so fickle. Let's just go ahead and jump into the first video.
Bumble, Tinder, Coffee Meets Bagel. The dating app options, just like those profiles, are endless. But on this Valentine's Day, instead of swiping right, more singles are logging off. Dating app fatigue is setting in with many looking for something new, saying the apps can feel impersonal.
It seemed kind of fake. It didn't seem as genuine as like meeting someone in real life.
Every date kind of felt like an interview.
Anything that's new loses its charm, right? So like dating apps were new and cool like 10 years ago, but now it's been a decade of swiping and people want something else.
Maxine Williams, founder of We Met IRL, noticed the switch and now organizes singles meetups and speed dating events in real life.
We get 4 minutes with each person. We have like an activity beforehand so people can kind of break the ice that way before they're like thrown into the speed dating. But it's 2 hours, it flies by, and people just really have a great time.
But this doesn't mean the apps are going away. Now AI technology is giving some people the extra edge.
If you notice, guys, at these dating events, you see tables that are filled with women talking to other women. Most men are not going to these events anymore. I put out a video recently where a woman, a matchmaker, she basically tried to get a bunch of men to come to her event, a matchmaking event, and something like only one guy RSVP'd, and it was through a woman. Like, it was absolutely insane. And you can see in the video just now that most of the people at the event are women. It's like a networking event for women. Men are steering clear of these events. So now women are trying to meet men in real life, and they're complaining that men won't approach them. But then at the same time, these are the same women that were screeching and hollering at men for speaking to them. So now the men that they want to speak to them are not speaking to them. And keep in mind, if you speak to a woman and then she doesn't like you after you speak to her, she's like, oh, you know what? This is not a guy I'm interested in. So now she retroactively withdraws the consent that she initially gave you to speak to her, saying that, I never wanted to speak to you in the first place. And you need to understand, men need to understand in general, that just because a woman smiles at you or looks at you does not mean that she wants to speak to you. And this is the crazy games that they're playing. And it's like they think that they can do things like this and get away with it. And that men don't just say, you know what, we're not here for you to play with us. We're not here for you to do these things to us. We are not going to tolerate it. We're going to walk away. And of course, their response to this is by shaming men and saying that you men are you're little boys, you don't want to grow up, you don't know how to be adults. And they come up with every series of excuse to explain away their bad behavior. And they think that this is going to continue on forever. They think that men will always want them. Well, here's the thing. There are men who want women, but those men who want women, they're going overseas to find women who are fit, feminine, friendly, and agreeable. Okay? Because men are tired of the nonsense. Women told men to go away, so men are staying away. Women said that men are bothering them in the gyms, so men are building home gyms. 60% of gyms have already closed. And they're experiencing a horrible year just starting off into 2024. All the big gyms, including Planet Fitness, have reported that they're not seeing the normal signups that they see in January. So typically at the beginning of every year in January, that's when something like 25% of all their signups happen for the entire year. Because you have all those people who make their their pledges that, oh, I'm going to go and start the gym and so forth and all the other nonsense. Guess what? That hasn't happened at all. Men have not shown up. Have not signed up for the gym. Men have been just leaving in droves. They're creating home gyms and they're isolating themselves away from women. And when I say isolating, they're basically ghosting in plain daylight. So they're still living their lives, but they're basically staying to themselves. They're working out in their homes. They go out, they go where they need to go, and then they come home. Some dudes are buying like acres of land, like just crazy amounts of land. Like some dude said he had like 5 acres of land. I'm like, what? They're buying crazy amounts of acres of land and just putting a home on it, and basically that's their peace. That's literally their peace. Like that's their wilderness, and they're just happy they're by themselves. I speak to so many guys in the comments that are buying property, houses, condos, whatever. And a lot of these guys are, they make maybe anywhere from 5,000. Some of these guys make literally $5,000 to $6,000 a month, and they have no debt. They own their homes. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, and they're living good debt-free lives. And they don't want to have any relations. They've completely opted out of marriage, dating, relationships. They have no inclination whatsoever to enter into these relationships. And of course, you have modern women who were engaged in these, HOE phases, their 304 phase, and now they're covered in regret. And you have these tradcon women that are basically, now marketing to them left and right. Let's jump into this other video.
Myself, I would stop making controversial content, but I just need to say some things and warn the young women in my audience about some things. Young women and young men are really set up to fail these days and are told devastating lie after devastating lie. And then these people structure their lives around these lies and then wonder why they're having an identity crisis at 30. So I hope this video dismantles these lies and helps set you ladies up for success instead of devastating failure. I hope that you like it. Please like and subscribe if you do, and check out my Patreon for a lot of bonus stuff. Now onto the video. The first lie is that you need a HOE phase. Sadly, I think we hear this mainly from other women, that before we settle down with one man, we need to experiment sexually with multiple men so that we can learn what we like, so that we can sow our wild oats, so that we can get it out of our system. It's also a female specific rite of passage. Men don't really have this, HOE phase in their vocabulary, you may have noticed. Men don't encourage other men to have this specific promiscuous phase of life. This is because men do not need to be encouraged to be promiscuous. The vice of unchecked lust just has a lot more power over men, unfortunately. But if you want a woman to be promiscuous, you need to encourage her, you need to trick her. We naturally have more of an innate desire to protect ourselves sexually than men because 1, we're physically more vulnerable, 2, we're the ones who get pregnant, and 3, because we are more vulnerable to STDs. That is why the HOE phase is a female specific rite of passage. None of us would sink to that level if not encouraged to do so by other women. A man telling you a woman to go be promiscuous would make you feel unsafe, but a woman telling you to go be promiscuous would make you feel a lot more at ease because of the empathy, mutual understanding, and camaraderie you have with other women. So this phase is so deceitful and manipulative. It makes feminine sexuality look so, open and invulnerable, and it absolutely is not. Women are naturally picky sexually, which is great. That should be encouraged. You should be picky, ladies. When you engage in sex with a man, you're in such a vulnerable state, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. It does not matter if you kind of delude yourself into thinking that sex can be inconsequential if you simply decide it is this time. SA cannot be the most heinous crime imaginable, and cheating on your spouse cannot be the highest form of betrayal if sex can also ever be casual. So please, to any women out there, especially any teenagers out there, be picky, guard your body. Don't let any jaded woman out there convince you that you need a HOE phase. It's not natural. You don't need to experiment for the sake of finding sexual compatibility with anyone. I actually kind of think that sexual compatibility is kind of a disingenuous idea. The idea that you can be completely attracted to someone, have them be attracted to you, love them, be equally yoked, want to build a life with them, and then somehow be sexually compatible. It works if you work it. Sex is going to be a bit of a puzzle for one or two people who've never done it before.
Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't know who she's, I mean, I know exactly who she's speaking to, but this is a joke. I mean, are you speaking to Gen Z women? Because Gen Z, by 18, they have a count. By 18, a lot of these girls have double digit counts by 18. I'm just being very honest. So this is, I mean, like, who is she really speaking to? It's literally advertising or speaking to women who've already done this, who've already lived this life, and now they're trying to turn to, the tradcon movement and basically pretend and like, God has washed it away. There was this woman on there was this woman on the whatever podcast. I should have saved it. And I told y'all this was gonna happen. I told y'all this is like prophetic, but it's just common sense, man. God has been able to open my eyes and give me the wisdom that I prayed for, and I pray for more and more wisdom. But I will say you have to be careful with wisdom. You pray for the things that you want, but at the same time, the amount of knowledge and insight that I'm gaining, it's frightening. And sometimes I say, am I making this up? Because this cannot be for real. And then it just and then I see it manifest in front of me, and I hear women saying these things, and I'm like, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. And it's insight, it's realization, it's wisdom. But wisdom can be absolutely overwhelming when you realize just how terrible society has become. And when you begin to understand the inner workings of how women think and operate, it can be overwhelming, because you can say, this is just terrible. How can people live like this? How can this exist? And of course, you cannot change them. You cannot change a woman. This is her nature. This is how her brain is wired. Feminism did not change women. Feminism just allowed women to be who they were, who the people they always were. The seed of feminism is planted in every single woman. And to be very clear with you, there's nothing virtuous about these individuals. And yet, you have women like Janelle who are trying to say that, a woman should be virtuous. But the truth is that women naturally are not monogamous. Women by nature are polygamous. Monogamy is something that only men can generally maintain. If women or society in and of itself does not enforce monogamy, women will naturally engage in polygamy. This is an absolute fact. And of course, people don't want to admit to it, but it's the honest to goodness truth. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers on our journey to 2 million by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. Women are burning out. What do you guys think regarding this? I want to hear your thoughts, so let's talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.